I got fired from McKinsey and I thought it ruined my life. I went through the 5 stages of grief.
That's Anna Reich, an engineer who climbed her way into the most prestigious firm in the world, only to discover that the dream career she worked so hard for turns into a nightmare.
Was crying on the phone to my boyfriend every night, saying how much I hate it. At least on my birthday, maybe I could stop working.
Anna's identity was tied to the job title, approval. All of those became her cage, known as the golden handcuffs.
I was someone that liked to get a stamp of approval from institutions. Anything that shatters that identity is really horrible. I've already disappointed everyone. Now I might as well just do what I want to do.
In this episode, Anna breaks down how trusting your intuition can build your career and a life that fits who you are.
When am I ever going to be in a situation like this again where I don't have anything to lose? Because I already lost it. If I don't do it now, then I'm probably never going to do it.
Anna took a swing and started a YouTube channel.
In the beginning, no one watched my videos. And I got my first subscriber after 10 videos, which is really, really brutal.
Today, she runs a YouTube channel that inspires hundreds of thousands to build a life focused on purpose.
More success in the wrong direction could hold you back from having success in the right direction. It will give you opportunities, but not the opportunities you want.
Let's dive in and see how Anna transformed her failure with prestige to freedom with purpose. Before we jump in, I want to take a moment to thank you for being here. This channel is small, but it's filled with high-quality people like you who care about growth, emotional intelligence, and becoming the kind of leader who's guided by intuition instead of noise and chaos. With everything happening in the world right now, emotional intelligence and being led by our intuition is more important than ever. If that resonates for you, just take 2 seconds and double check that you're subscribed. It really helps the health of a small channel like this. If you have entrepreneurs or professionals in your life who you care about, people navigating through growth, stress, leadership, burnout, or big decisions, please share this episode with them. A personal share will support our community more than any algorithm ever could. Let's be guided by your intuition and dive into today's episode. Anna, I would love to hear a bit about your background and your journey, because from what I know, it's been quite a roller coaster.
Yeah, so happy to tell you about my background. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade, and then worked in the battery industry for several years, basically working on building a battery factory for this startup in Sweden. And then after that, I went to McKinsey, went into consulting, and then...
Okay, so you didn't start out directly with McKinsey, right? Okay. And then tell me about, you went to college for mechanical engineering. That was in Germany?
Yeah, it was in Germany.
Okay, then right out of college, you went to this Sweden battery company.
Yes.
And then to McKinsey, because that's kind of an interesting jump. Me as a mechanical engineer, the other engineers I know typically don't get into consulting, especially that early.
Yeah, it's true. So I did have some colleagues that basically went the same path, that went from this specific company, and which gave me the idea. And there I also wanted to join a specific team. So I wanted to join the operations team at McKinsey, which is, basically for operations specific stuff.
No, that's a good fit with engineering and also German background, very operational, very organized. That's a lot of companies could use that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now tell me about the job process. When you got to McKinsey, that was your, how did it feel? Tell me the idea of accepting the idea of going for McKinsey, because that's a pretty big leap, right? Getting to the company McKinsey is very well known.
Yeah, it was. So first it was difficult to even consider this option just because I had been so used to having engineer in my job title at all times, and I was quite proud of it. So I first had to let go of that. And then honestly, when I did get the job though, it felt like I had to take it because it's too good of an opportunity. I think it's one of the companies in the world that has the lowest acceptance rate of applications.
Oh.
And so just based on that, I was like, okay, now that I did get lucky and got this role, I need to accept it.
Okay. When you got the job initially, did you feel fully prepared for the job?
No, especially because so I joined basically 2 years in. As McKinsey has quite a strict career ladder that you go up, and I
Yeah.
joined not as a beginner but as a someone with experience, so not at the lowest
Okay.
level. And so at that level, they already required me to have some skills that I didn't have, like PowerPoint, Excel skills. That even though obviously I have those skills as an engineer, but you need them at a different level, and you need to be basically able to like make good looking slides on the fly, make specific spreadsheets that are needed, and make them within like during a meeting with a client basically. And so all of these
Oh,
things I didn't have, and that was a bit challenging. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Now it's a bit easier with more AI and templates, but back then, I remember when I started my business, I was going for some grant opportunities, and I think we need to do like a weekly or monthly update. And my slides were so ugly all the time, just like the most basic. It was just basically like information and no graphics. It looked terrible looking back on it.
Yeah, it's a skill.
Yeah. So you felt a little bit underprepared, but you felt that you were able to compensate for where you were underprepared.
Yeah. So my expectation was they hired me for my battery background, which because I had a
Hmm.
whole team, like an informal team within the company that is focused on batteries. And that was in high demand because back when I joined, the battery industry in Europe was really blowing up, and they were looking for consultants in that field. So I felt like they really wanted me for that background, and that would make up for other things that I wouldn't know.
Okay, gotcha. So when you were in McKinsey, tell me more about the process where you kind of had this really exciting moment, a little bit of you felt underprepared, and then what you went from there, like a hard grind culture.
So not at the very beginning because we first had an elaborate onboarding process together with everyone else who had joined that month, and like went on a trip and to Frankfurt actually,
Hmm. Okay.
and went through I think 3 weeks of onboarding where we got like a mini MBA and some basic Excel and PowerPoint, did some like simulation of what we would later be doing. Yeah, those kind of things. So that felt really just fun and exciting. And then after that was the week where we all got placed in some kind of project.
Hmm.
And we were
Okay.
all waiting for the email that would tell us that we got placed. And then I was on a 3-month project in like the automotive industry. And yeah, that felt really exciting. And then I arrived, I think it was on a Wednesday, I arrived directly from like work in the evening there. And I was supposed to start work the next day. And they were like, now that you're here, we can already, again, it was like 10 in the evening, we can already get you onboarded and give you something to do. And I was like,
Oh, 10 at night,
yes.
and you've already been working the whole day.
Yeah. And I had been traveling to this spot, and I was so tired, and I just met these people and they were putting me to work right away. And there I was like, oh no, what have I got myself into? Yeah.
So that was the moment when you're like, maybe this wasn't the best idea.
Yeah. I thought, wow, they can't even let me like arrive. It has to be like, work from the start. We can't even have one conversation about who each other is.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So then what happened after that?
Then the next morning, I got up early, went to the client, and like, yeah, day one, I was already at a client, didn't know anything about them, and had to pretend I did. And yeah, because you're always expected to know things. You can never say, oh, I don't know this, or I wasn't filled in. You can never admit that. You're always supposed to
Which,
bullshit.
yeah, which you as the expert that's coming from this massive, high-end company, McKinsey, you want to keep the image of, being knowledgeable, being smart, being willing to guide them the right way. So if you come off as like you don't know who they are or you're underprepared and they're paying, I'm assuming, a lot of money for McKinsey, then that can be pretty frustrating for the client.
Yeah, but the practical reality was that I was underprepared because I had not been prepared, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And was that basically an expectation on your side, or was that more of an expectation on who is like your manager or whoever's supporting you within McKinsey?
I think it's a structural problem because they don't plan in time for like ramping up or for preparing, reading into it. I could have done that on the train, and I did read some stuff, but everything like, didn't make sense to me.
Okay.
You're coming to this company, this problem that they're working on, and you don't know anything about it, and all the documentation on it is not really that self-explanatory. And then you're
Yeah.
supposed to be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I got it, like this and this, no worries. And I'm not that kind of person. I'm not a bullshitter. I'm always very honest when I don't know something. And so
Yeah.
that I knew that I couldn't be. And so that was really stressful the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that. So did you work with only one client throughout McKinsey, or did that evolve into, was this like a repeating thing that was happening with every client that you had with McKinsey?
Yeah, I worked with a couple of clients, but this was the longest project where, eventually I did get a foothold and on the project and I knew what we were doing. But then I had this 2 or 3 more times where I had shorter projects and I only knew with some of them that I would get them like the day off. And
Oh,
so I
wow.
would then quickly book my flight and then arrive there and read some stuff on the flight and then be like, yeah, I know everything about you. I'm here to advise you.
So you're getting a client, you're booking a flight, you're like leaving for the flight the same day that you
Yeah.
like you're on the plane the same day you get a client.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's literally no time for you to research this client.
No, and I'm sure it's not always like that, but for me, it was super short-term placements, and yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about there was a beginning of a bit of like a trade-off where you felt like this isn't the right decision that I wanted.
Yeah,
Tell me about that thought process.
so pretty quickly I realized that I had underestimated just how much we would be working and how
Hmm.
little sense I would see in it. Because I was used to working a lot as an engineer as well, and also used to traveling a lot. I always had been the one in charge of my own projects, and I
Hmm.
was the one deciding this needs to get done today, so I'm gonna do it today, and I'm gonna work until 10 p.m., whatever it is. At McKinsey, it was my manager who I was with the entire week, always. So you have kind of like
Hmm.
a project manager called the engagement manager who is there managing the engagement with the client and micromanaging you and giving you all your tasks whenever they feel like they need to be done. And just because of this setup, my motivation to work hard really went down a lot. Plus, we weren't getting enough sleep. He made a comment like 5 hours of sleep is really enough. Anything beyond that is luxury. And I thought, I'm gonna die here. I cannot function under 7 hours. And I really like to get 8 or 9. Yeah. So that was like the things I had underestimated, just how little regard there was for being healthy and being focused when you're working. It was just about the number of hours.
Okay. I see. Now, what age were you when this happened?
It was about a year and a half ago when I joined. So
Okay.
I'm 30 now. Yeah, I was 29, I guess.
Okay. So later 20s, you feel like you hit this opportunity of a lifetime, and then it turns out to not be everything that you thought it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you're hitting this massive workload with your with your manager, with your clients, and then what ends up happening?
I did enjoy part of it. So this project I had was traveling to different automotive factories or like automotive supplier factories across Europe.
Okay.
and like, going on the shop floor and looking how they were working and then finding ways to optimize. And I'm good at that because I've worked on the shop floor several years. And so they were impressed by how instantly I was able to understand the production lines and see ways to improve them, and probably better than like some of the production managers, for example, that were running these lines, because I was just coming with a fresh perspective and I was a little bit naive asking, so do you really need to do this step? Can't we just remove it?
Yeah.
So in some ways that was helping that I was much younger than most of the clients, and just I came from a startup where you do these kind of things. You question everything a little bit. You're a little bit overly confident, and you don't respect necessarily the process that's already there. So I came there with that mindset, and that was really fun and was also appreciated by the clients. And I was able to build, I think, really good connections with some of the clients. I have more of a calm personality, so I tend to be liked by other people who are also calmer and who then feel like they've got a listening ear and not someone who's like going at 100 miles an hour and never letting them get a word in. Yeah, so I really like those things, like building the relationships and showing off my skills and just getting technical and having these discussions. But then there was also always, at the end of the day, making more spreadsheets, making more PowerPoint slides, just doing these tasks that I thought were a little bit not the most fun, not the most necessary, and definitely not as urgent as they were made out to be.
Yeah. Okay. So there was a point within McKinsey that you did like it, and then what was the point, the breaking point with McKinsey?
I don't know, maybe it was my birthday. So yeah, I must have turned 29 while I was there. And I was still at that client, and my team knew it was my birthday. And so in the evening, they were like, yeah, we insist, like, we want to take you out to dinner. And I was like, okay, sounds great. And then we talked about work the entire time during that dinner. And then it was about 9 p.m. when we got back to the hotel. And then my manager was like, okay, let's see what else there still needs to be done that you can take care of.
Oh, on your birthday.
And I was really not impressed by that behavior. I was really disappointed. I thought, at least on my birthday, maybe I could stop work.
Go to bed at 9 o'clock.
Yeah. And I would have rather not gone out to dinner with these two colleagues that, sure, they were nice, but they weren't my friends, and rather had some time to call my boyfriend and read a book or watch a movie or whatever it is. Just celebrate a little bit. And I don't know. Maybe at 29, I shouldn't care about my birthday this much anymore, but I still care about it. Yeah.
An amazing birthday for Anna Reich is going to bed at 9 p.m. and reading a book.
I guess so.
You were 30 before you hit 30. That's
Keep in mind, I was at a hotel in the middle of nowhere. It's not like I could have done much more than that. But yeah.
No, I'm teasing you. It makes sense that you just would like to enjoy. It's not too much to ask for your birthday to enjoy a nice dinner and then go to bed afterwards. Not have to at 9 p.m. after dinner need to keep working. And it sounds like there was no like pressing massive project that needed to be completed right away.
No, these were ongoing to-dos that
this is a normal day.
Yeah, normal day, normal week. There wasn't anything big going on. It's just, to some extent, I understand the managers because they're under a lot of pressure. But I think the managers that end up landing in those roles are unfortunately those that tend to do things like feel more pressure, even more pressure than needed. And they pass it on to their team, and they set very ambitious deadlines, or rather like deadlines with a lot of buffer. So if something is due on Friday, on Tuesday, they're like, this needs to be done today, just in case we don't have time, or just in case something else comes up. And yeah, so then it feels a little bit not very motivating to do that on your birthday when you're like, I could also just do this tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So what ended up happening? You're having this realization on your birthday that this is not the work culture that you want to be a part of. And then what was the next step?
So at that point, I was about 3 months in to working there.
Oh, this is only 3 months in.
So, it was pretty quickly that I was pretty miserable in this job. But I kept weighing, like, it's a good learning. I've already learned so much in this short time. And also, I'm getting insights into a company that is usually pretty mysterious. And I'm seeing that they too only cook with water. It was quite confident. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought,
You see, you're seeing on the inside of McKinsey, they don't have this like fairy dust that's making magic. So I've never heard the term. They also cook with water. I get what you're saying, but that's I like that.
yeah, maybe that's a German saying, actually. Yeah. So
Awesome.
it was good for my confidence. It was nice to just see how things are there. And I thought I'm not done getting value out of it yet, but I also was basically crying on the phone to my boyfriend every night, saying how much I hate it.
Within 3 months, within the first 3
Um,
months. Okay.
yeah, starting maybe like month 2 or something, all the way until the end of my time there.
Yeah. And and you mentioned before that there was a lot of pressure to stay at least 2 years.
Yes. So I don't know where this comes from, but 2 years is like this golden timeline that people should stay at in consulting jobs in general, or at the very least. Whereas anything below 2 years doesn't even count on your CV. And I don't know who has spread this myth, but yeah, I was very convinced that I needed to stay 2 years, and at the very least 1 year, because otherwise you're not even considered an alumni by McKinsey. So
Oh, after 1 year, you get alumni.
yeah, so you don't get to be part of their alumni network if you didn't at least stay a year. And yeah, that's a real deadline, but then the 2 years feels a little bit made up. I guess it's also like 2 years is usually the time frame in which you should get promoted at a consulting firm.
Mm.
So basically, after 2 years, you can then either leave or you get a promotion.
Okay. So when you're crying on the phone to your boyfriend 2 months in, 2 years sounds like an eternity.
Yeah, I didn't know how I would do it, and I realized that I was destroying both my physical health and my mental health at a really fast rate. But I also felt weak for it being that way. I didn't want to accept
Mhm.
that these other people are able to stick it out. My manager has been there for, who knows, 3-4 years. So why can't I do it? And yeah, so there was like some pride in there as well. And I didn't listen to myself enough.
This sounds like a scene in a movie where you're like, yeah, Jim, your manager, he's 50 now. And he's like, no, I'm actually like 35. I just been aged so fast from working at McKinsey. So, okay. So you don't want to feel weak. You want to make this, hit your 2 years. It sounds like it may be a red flag if you're like anyone listening to this, if you're going to get a job somewhere, if they have an alumni program within the first year of working there. Because I've never heard of like an alumni program of someone working somewhere. I've heard of like, here's a group for the retirees. They were retired from somewhere, but working somewhere for a year and you're already in an alumni program, clearly they know that there's this massive turnover. So that can't be good for McKinsey where this massive prestigious company has this really high-end talent that's constantly turning over so fast.
Yeah, it is a fast turnover, and I can see why.
So tell me about this breaking point of you crying on the phone to your boyfriend, you want to leave, your mental health, your physical health is dropping. What was the straw, it's an English term, what was the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will?
There wasn't one because I didn't leave out of my own decision. So
Oh,
I wish there had been. I really wish I had just listened to myself and said, this is not for me. It was a nice try, but let's find something better. But I didn't. I was gonna stick it out. I was Googling like the minimum time possible I could stay in a consulting job without it like being a waste or without looking like a failure.
your manager was like, we have your Google search history right here. How to not hate McKinsey.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did that end up happening? Your manager was noticing things or?
So in at McKinsey, you're not really judged by your manager directly. There's a committee that every 6 months gives you a performance review. And this committee, like one person from the committee talks to everyone that you've worked with and asks them to basically rate you, and
The clients,
not the clients, but from your team.
coworkers.
Yeah, coworkers.
Okay.
Because you don't have a set team that you stay with outside of the project. Every project has a team put together, and then with those people you work for the time of the project, and then wherever you pull from the project, you get a new team, new project. And yeah, there's no one manager that works with you the whole time and that can judge your progress. So instead, they interview everyone that you work with and ask them to give their opinion on your work and your development. And then based on that, they give you a performance rating every 6 months. And I knew the meeting was coming up. I didn't know exactly when it would be, but I knew that my 6-month mark was coming up. I think it was like 2 weeks away. And I was basically waiting for a meeting with that person who would then tell me the result of the committee and of the interviews he had done. And then on Friday afternoon, I think at 2:00, I got an invite to a meeting that was on that Friday afternoon, like an hour away. And that moment I knew I was getting fired, because I thought it cannot possibly be this urgent to tell me the results. You're not going to send an invite an hour in advance. There's a deadline, or there's a notice period. In Germany, you can't just terminate someone's contract the day off. You have to give them a certain notice period. And so for the probation, during the probation periods is 2 weeks. And then otherwise it's 3 months usually. But so I knew they can only terminate me until the end of the 6 months if they terminate me today. So, and then there was also a person from HR invited to the call that I didn't know. And that kind of sealed the deal for me. Yeah.
So you were walking into the same meeting with someone from HR. You're like, "Hi, I'm Tom from HR." And you're like, "I know what that means."
Yeah, it was a virtual meeting, but yes.
Okay. So you end up getting fired from McKinsey?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you tell me that emotional roller coaster.
Yeah. So I started crying still within the meeting, which I've made a video about this, and a lot of people give me shit for that. And I don't care. I was like, if they basically ruin my life, that was my thinking at the time. Not what happened, but if they can ruin my life, then they can at least sit through half an hour of me crying. That was my perspective. Because they were like, should we postpone this? And I was like, no, I need to know now. Like, why you're firing me.
So you go into the meeting and then they want to postpone it?
Yeah, they said which I give them credit for, they went into the topic right away. I think within 30 seconds, they told me that I was getting fired. And then I started crying and they were like, we're happy to answer any questions and explain everything, but we can also postpone that if that's easier. And I was like, no, I need to know now.
Postpone answering any questions?
Yeah, like set up a second meeting where we would, in the next week, because this was Friday afternoon, where we would talk again.
Yeah, have a great weekend.
Yeah, exactly. I thought I'm not going into the weekend not knowing why this is happening. Not that they gave that much clarity, honestly, but yeah.
Yeah. So what went through that process? Like, was it feeling like a failure?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Because I have not dealt with much failure in my life at all. And I knew this about myself. The first time that I had problems with this, like with what I call low frustration tolerance, is like in university, because I had been a straight A student all my high school, and then studying mechanical engineering was the first time I actually had to study, and failed some classes, and that kind of ruined my confidence. I thought, I'm not meant to be an engineer. I need to drop out, whatever. And then work through that. But then in my career life, everything had gone really well. I got really lucky in the sense that I never had to apply to many jobs. Like all the jobs I got, I basically was only applying to that job, the startup, and then also McKinsey. I hadn't applied to anything else next to it. Just waited for the result. And so I was someone that liked to get a stamp of approval from institutions and was used to getting that. And then suddenly this big institution was saying that actually we gave you a shot and no, you're not worth working here. And so that was really painful. And yeah, I just felt totally destroyed and was panicking and just didn't know how to deal with that situation.
Yeah. So you mentioned, what did you say, your frustration tolerance? Which it sounds like you didn't have the path that you went, you didn't really have much frustration experience. You're nailing straight A's, you apply somewhere, you get accepted. And something that I realized for me that I was really thankful through my startup journey is that I was a C average student. So my rejection or my like thought process of failure is much different than a straight A student. I had an intern who was a straight A student, and I could see in him there was times that he did not want to mess up, and it was actually hurting him. So for an example, he was doing sales. He was amazing at sales, very good at sales. And it was at the end of the month, and he calls me and the COO. He goes, "Hey, it's the end of the month. I want to do a last push for sales. What should I do?" And the CEO goes, "Call all your past customers. Those are the easiest ones to close." He calls us back super sad because he only closed 50% of his past customers. I was like, oh my God, this kid is like God level of sales. And he's so distraught because if you put 50% on a test, that's a F. Like what he's looking for is 100 or 99% at the minimum. So yeah, I could see how that can be pretty frustrating when you're put into a high pressure situation like this.
Yeah, I think maybe not everyone, but I think a lot of A students kind of tie their self-worth to their grades and
Yeah.
yeah, get used to it, also get rewarded for it, complimented for it. It's like the big
Mhm.
thing that I was,
Yeah, it's your identity.
yeah, it's your identity, exactly. And so then anything that shatters that identity is really horrible. And it's why I also think that getting A's in school, I no longer think it's necessarily so aspirational. I don't have any statistics on this, but my guess would be that more people go into entrepreneurship that didn't get straight A's.
Yeah, I could see that. Which is interesting because on the flip side, because you're not a straight A student, you feel underqualified, which is kind of funny because you actually are more qualified than the straight A student. Yeah. So tell me about, okay, what was you felt like a failure. I feel like it was deeper than just feeling like a failure when they're firing you in this moment.
Yeah, it felt I can't believe this. I didn't think I would be the kind of person that gets fired, right? Because to me, getting fired was such a bad thing in my mind. That really means you messed up and you didn't fulfill what was expected of you. And yeah, it felt like I had totally let them down as well. And yeah, just like I had done something really wrong.
Yeah. They're also taking the opportunity away from you to correct it.
Yeah.
This isn't a warning. This isn't like, oh, we did an update and, Anna, you got a C, you got a B minus. There wasn't like, oh, well, let me try to, push it back. It was like, we're done. We are separate ways.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't get any warning about this. Because I did get a 3 months update where they said everything's going well overall as expected. There are some things you need to work on, like your consulting toolkit, which is like your PowerPoint, Excel stuff. But that's normal for anyone entering with a more experienced role like you, who hasn't had all this training for the past 2 years on these things. So I thought it was going fine. That was my interpretation of it. Was things are going well, or as expected. I'm not below expectations. And then it was like, oh no, actually, things didn't go fine. And
Mm.
yeah, there's nothing I can do anymore. I actually tried for a couple days to see if there's anything I could do to get my job back.
There's a big shatter to your identity.
Yeah.
Now, did you feel that with the prestige of McKinsey that you missed an opportunity of a lifetime?
I thought so at first. That, yeah, because now it wouldn't really count. And it was, to me, it would be super obvious that I got fired because no one leaves after 6 months, which is the typical probation period time in Germany. So I was like, it would be really obvious to other people that I got fired.
Yeah. So when I was on Shark Tank, that was like, to me, the peak of having a startup was getting on Shark Tank. At this point, I wanted to be on the show for years and practiced. In the episode, I knocked it out of the park. But the thing is, the story of Shark Tank is you get on the show and then you get tons of money in sales when you air. I don't know why. I can blame it on a lot of different things. But the day that we aired, my company GritMat had $6,000 in sales generated from the episode. And I felt like I missed the opportunity of a lifetime. This was supposed to be, I was expecting minimum 6 figures in sales. I've talked to lots of companies that had millions of dollars in sales, and I was just like, this was supposed to be it. This was supposed to be my big like breakthrough. I get asked quite a few times on interviews about when you finally made it or when you had your breakthrough. And I was like, that's what I thought was going to be my breakthrough was getting on the show. And I was like, my mind was so focused on getting on this show, and I ended up getting $6,000 in sales. That's not profit. That's in revenue. Most of that's going to be going to shipping and handling and the product. And it was like, wow, I felt like I put all my eggs in one basket and I dropped all of them.
I think that's a good description or a good comparison of, I also thought this was going to be my big career breakthrough. The time where finally I get recognized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be on your resume forever that people can point at and, go back to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you end up doing after you were let go of McKinsey?
So I did a lot of things very quickly. I guess you could say I went through the 5 stages of grief in a mixed order. Like, I remember the night I stayed up until 4 a.m. the night I got fired, and I signed up to Y Combinator's co-founder matching platform. Like, I was like, I'm gonna start a startup. Like, that was my first thought. Then, yeah, I had some conversations the next week with, basically said goodbye to every colleague that I had worked with and had some calls with them. And that was really painful because all of them were trying to help me, and they were like, I can see if I can find you a job or see if we can help you still get your role back. Maybe if you talk to these partners that are in the battery industry that really would like you to stay at the company and you reapply and go through the process again, then maybe we can make this work. And they were trying to be helpful, but it really, was very hard to do that because I wasn't making a clear cut yet emotionally. And it felt like I wasn't sure which way to go. Then I also started having some calls with potential co-founders, since things go pretty quickly on the co-founder matching platform.
Oh, so Y Combinator, you were getting some hits?
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah. And regardless, then I had a call, a YouTube accountability partner, and I had a call with her a week in. And during the call, I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to try to get a job. I think I want to try to start something. I don't know yet what that's going to be, but I just don't want to get a job right now, because when am I ever going to be in a situation like this again where I don't have anything to lose because I already lost it?
Oh, yeah. So was there a sense of freedom in that?
Yeah, there was freedom and relief that the decision was made for me. That all this back and forth, should I stay? Should I go? How long should I still stay? That was over. But of course, mixed with feeling like a failure or a letdown yeah, I disappointed everyone who was so happy for me when I got that job.
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel that. There was a point so on Shark Tank, I ended up getting a deal with three sharks. And long story short, I ended up buying out the sharks. And we did not really end on good terms. And the way I felt is like these people were the source of how I got so much like love and attention. And now that I'm like being away from them, I almost felt like I was disappointing the people who were so excited that I ended up on the show. Even though this was like a 7-year gap.
Mm.
When I got on the show and then when I bought them out, I felt like in everyone's mind from my like small hometown that everyone's going on to Facebook like, what's Tom Burden doing today? Where like it's they're excited when it happened and they don't really care about it. And what I realized is when I would tell people that I ended up buying the sharks out, other people's perception of that was excited. Like, oh wow, so you're the big man now. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I didn't I didn't see it as a positive thing, but all right. So you felt like you were letting them down in a similar way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I also would think it's a badass move to buy out the sharks.
Yeah,
That's a milestone where you get your freedom back. But yeah, it's so weird how we make up expectations that others have of us, and then we try to follow them, and we don't update those expectations, even though they probably
yeah,
do get updated.
yeah. I see what you're saying of updated because you know you hit the expectation or you kind of created expectation of okay, I have a job at McKinsey, and then you kind of assume that their expectation is that you'd have the job for a certain amount of time or forever. Where they're just excited you got the job. They never said, I'm excited you have the job if you stay for this many years.
Yeah.
you know, they're just excited, period. And yeah. So, okay. So you, on this emotional roller coaster, tell me about the point where you actually realized that this was a good thing.
Good question, because I think I went back and forth for a long.
Hold on. Have you yet?
Yeah. No. I have.
Just making
Yes.
sure.
I think it's a good thing. Looking back, I'm really glad. I could not imagine still working there and how different of a person I would be. Because I think you have to change to stay. Otherwise, you live in cognitive dissonance the whole time.
Mm.
Yeah. But during the time I was there. Yeah.
So you feel that if you somehow did have the opportunity to stay, you would end up having to change as Anna, and that would not be a good change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I already felt like I was making a morally ambiguous decision by working there, because I was not blind to some of the messed up things the company has done in the past. So
Okay.
yeah, I was joining a company knowingly that had been in a lot of scandals. I even read a book about it before I joined. And yeah, so it felt like I was joining, I don't know, not the devil, but I was
stair-stepping to the devil.
Yeah.
Okay. So you felt like it was a slippery slope of this constant morality change.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't know. Yeah, a lot of people judge me for even ever making the decision to work there. I get a lot of hate under my videos for that. And people are not wrong. But then I'm not the only person that works for a problematic company. In fact, I think a lot of people do.
It's a big company. There's a lot of people.
There is a lot of problematic companies in general also. So, yeah.
So you end up parting from the company.
Yeah.
And you're going through the 5 stages of grief. You're playing around with Y Combinator, and I guess tell me about what you're doing now, or like the steps how you got to where you're doing now.
Yeah, and it's a good question what I'm doing now, because I ask myself that too. But
Every day.
Basically. But so I went through, I guess, a couple of phases in the past year. So at first I was pursuing the startup opportunity or possibility, talking to different potential co-founders. And after 10 calls, I realized that this is not right for me. Specifically, it being a VC funded startup where you have one business co-founder and one technical co-founder, how it seems to be the law when you Y Combinator or you're on a platform like this. Like everyone there was expecting or trying to put me in the technical or business co-founder role and got offended when I said I don't know if I fit either of these properly because I'm a mechanical engineer, I'm not a programmer. So I'm probably not your technical co-founder, but it also feels weird to say I'm not technical when honestly I think I'm more technical than software engineer because I'm a mechanical engineer who didn't really fit anywhere, it felt. And I'm also not an outgoing person. I have a lot of business interests, but I'm not someone who would love to go and sell what I'm selling to random people or try to get funding, which is what is expected of the business co-founder in framework. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. And then I also didn't want
So
to have another boss, which I realized that if you get funding, if you get an investor, then you have a boss again, and you probably again feel bad when you're not working because someone else might expect that of you. And I wanted to get out of that.
Yeah. Okay. So you're starting to see, it sounds like with McKinsey, the beautiful thing was you're realizing what you don't want. And now that you're getting into Y Combinator, you're seeing more of like what you don't want. I don't want a boss. I don't want to be this person who's doing sales, you're raising money. I'm not the networker. And so after you realize that, then what?
Then I thought, okay, I'm going to try to sell the skills I was using at my job before. So basically try to become an independent consultant. And at first I wanted to try and do that in the production space, production lines like I had been doing. But I also then realized that would not be that much better than doing that at McKinsey because I would still have to travel. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to optimize a production line from far away. And rightfully, you don't get any respect if you do that from the people that work on the shop floor. So, yeah, but traveling drains me a lot and I like my routines and I'm not going to be a happy person if I travel every week. And so I realized, okay, I'm just going to build myself like my own kind of hell if I do this, even though I love the work itself. And I could not figure out a way to do this work without traveling. So I tried to then think of, okay, maybe I can help startups or online businesses with their operations, those same skills, helping them with their systems. But it was very difficult. And even though the skills do transfer, there are a lot of people already doing this that are great at this and that don't need to transfer the skills. And so it didn't feel like I had a true edge.
You don't have anything to add.
And I have that expectation that whatever I go into, I want to have some kind of edge, some reason why I'm doing it that isn't just, I guess I'm not worse than the next person.
Yeah. No, I feel that sometimes where everything that I built with CryptMat, me basically moving away from it, there's sometimes I'm like, I don't know how else I could make money or what else I could make. Or sometimes I'll think, I do this software called Preply where I get an online Spanish tutor and it's like really, really low prices. And I'm thinking maybe I could at least like teach English, and make $10 an hour or something. But, I'm not really, there's a weird thing where I will kind of disregard all the skills that I have and not really value it and kind of, look at it as like, I don't have an edge or, I don't have anything to add. So I know how that feels.
Yeah. And also I feel some pressure to use every single skill I've acquired in the past because otherwise I'm wasting my potential.
Yeah. In that there's almost like a level of scarcity of your skill set. Because like if you have to use every single scrap you've ever had, that means you're really like you almost don't have enough. Where if it's okay to let yourself like not need every single bit of it. That's where I feel abundance is.
That's such a good way to look at it. And I think it's quite true. And like, it's part of the reason I feel this pressure too, because it comes with a lot of imposter syndrome too, trying to start a business.
Oh yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you're desperate to have some kind of reason or justification why you're doing it. And I was looking for that in like using all the skills I have.
Yeah. So now you've been focusing more on making video content, doing YouTube, right?
Yeah. So I have had my YouTube channel for 4.5 years. So I've had it like basically my entire career from the moment I started working full time.
Is your first video you crying about McKinsey?
No. My first
That'd be amazing.
No, my first video was basically when I had just started working as a mechanic engineer. I had gotten my first job and I told the story of how I became a mechanic engineer. So for a long time, I made videos about like day in the life as an engineer or career advice for engineers, those things. And then I documented the whole journey of working at McKinsey and getting fired. After the fact, I didn't make those videos while I was still there, but afterwards, I made a bunch of videos about McKinsey. Good bunch.
You were like with your cell phone, like going into the 6-month meeting. Then...
Not quite. Yeah, maybe I should have recorded it, but I also didn't want to get sued.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But yeah, so I've been leaning a lot more into this, especially now that I'm a year into, basically, I've been doing a lot of freelancing and I've been realizing how much my identity was still holding on to what I consider possible, where I thought, okay, operations consulting, sure, that's logical, close enough to what I was doing before, prestigious enough. Then for a while, I helped other consultants with their content marketing. I was like, it's getting to the point where I'm quite uncomfortable, but I'm still working with consultants, so that's like prestigious enough. And then now I was getting to the point where I realized I don't want to do that either. And I was doing some YouTube consulting, and I thought, damn, there's nothing there anymore. I don't think there's any prestige in this, except with a small circle of YouTubers or creators. But anyone outside of that thinks it's like a fake world. You're scamming everyone. And so I had to deal with like how much I had been limiting my options based on what I think is acceptable, what I can still deal with identity-wise. And then now finally I'm starting to get free of those things and actually do some YouTube consulting and do some career coaching for people who go through these same things. And so that made me want to make more videos about that again. And I felt really drawn to this. And I felt, oh, this is where this channel is supposed to go. It's not me getting fired over and over from different jobs, which isn't really repeatable. It's not me finding my next job. It's like dealing with the emotional journey of things that hold you back from building the career you want.
Yeah. I see, Anna, there's a bit of like, I think what's amazing with something that I feel like you're learning after everything with McKinsey is the perception if you are qualified is not your decision.
Yeah.
So, like you're talking about being in certain jobs where the thing is like, you could feel like you're qualified in a certain job, but there may be a job that you feel you're not qualified for, or may not be a perfect fit, or may not use all of your past experiences in there perfectly, but that's okay. You don't have to fit it perfectly.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if I think I'm qualified when I'm running a business, right? The only thing matters is if my clients think I'm qualified, or if my clients think I'm helping them, then nothing about my opinion matters. And the more I focus on just them and helping them, the more confident I feel, or the more confidence is just not a factor or not important.
But really, if you can take a step back and just see the part in your brain that's sitting here and saying, yeah, see this one little area, you didn't fit that one little area perfectly. So that's why you're not qualified. Where your client's like, thank you so much. This is amazing. And you're like, yeah, but it could have been better.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, like going through that emotional journey and observing that, just seeing like, yeah, you're kind, and sometimes you can be your worst enemy.
Yeah. And ironically, people feel safer now with me that they know I got fired and I put it on the internet because
Mm,
they know I'm not going to judge them if they got fired. I might
yeah.
congratulate them.
Yeah. Yeah. You should make like an anti-alumni group for
Yeah.
McKinsey. If you got kicked out, you can join this separate group.
Yeah.
Call it the McKinsey Freedom Fighters. That's interesting where there's actually value to you in your mind, like your perspective was failing, like you're seeing how much value that was there. Other people are feeling more relaxed around you because you did get fired.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
because I openly say it as well.
Yeah, you're not like trying to hide it.
No, which people recommended I do when I got fired. Some
Is
of the
that
partners.
is that on your resume, like at the top? Fired from McKinsey?
I don't have a resume anymore. I don't know why I did,
Yeah.
but
What you're doing now, you don't need
no.
it.
But I guess I could make one
Yeah.
just to do that.
And throughout your journey, can you tell me a story of when you did listen to your intuition?
So I thought about this question. It was difficult to find like, one time where I really did listen to my intuition. I think over the past year, I've gotten closer and closer to that, like through, and I almost see it as there's obstacles you put in your own way that kind of keep you from listening to these things. There's fears and there's beliefs about how things should be or what you should be doing with your life that have kept me from it. And the more I recognize them and see that they're there, the more I can say, okay, no, thank you. I want to do something different. So it feels like over the past year, I've gotten better at it, at least. But I guess the one time that has made the biggest difference on my life is when I started the YouTube channel.
Mm.
And yeah, I didn't tell anyone about it for 3 months. And just, it had been something that I had wanted to do for probably 10 years at that point and never did. And then I got my first full-time job and I thought, I'm never going to have more time than now. Not that I have a lot of time, but I'm not, like, I'm probably going to work forever. So if I don't do it now, then I'm probably never going to do it. And no one watched my videos in the beginning. No one subscribed. I think I got my first subscriber after 10 videos, which is really brutal. It's very late. But I just was like, I'm just convinced that I need to be doing this and that something good is going to come out of it. I didn't think I was going to get YouTube famous or anything, but I just thought it would change my life to stick with it. And it has. Again, not the sense that it made me rich or anything like that, but more in that it made me more confident, less afraid, and brought so many people into my life. Like you, I don't think I would be talking to you now if I hadn't started the channel. Yeah, and it broke the dam. I used to think I can't do things that I set my mind to because I didn't have a track record of doing things that I wanted to do. And then this was the first thing that I actually did that I had wanted to do for so long. And then I thought, oh, I can do anything. And since then, I've done so many other things like starting a podcast or learning to code or these different things I had wanted to do. Yeah.
So you kind of broke out of the box. You had yourself in like a box of, well, I'm supposed to be a mechanical engineer and, be around operations or processes. And then now it's like, could be anything. Could be YouTube consulting, marketing, could be coding. That's amazing.
Yeah. I think it was a big deal to have something outside of work that gave me confidence and fulfillment, and that was a second identity.
Yeah. It feels like because of McKinsey, there was almost a massive wave of personal acceptance.
Yeah. After the fact, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Like accepting your perception of like you failed, accepting that, maybe you want to try something different, accepting that it's okay to not be perfect to go for some job role or consulting role.
Yeah. And I guess what it also is, I've already disappointed everyone in my mind. Can't get any worse than that, right? Now I might as
Yeah.
well just do what I want to do.
Yeah. It's funny. There's like freedom in the disappointment.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God I have to hold these expectations and
Yeah.
get out of here. So tell me a story about when you did not listen to your intuition.
So besides not leaving my McKinsey job earlier, I guess also like before that in my engineering job, I over time it turned into a job I really didn't like because my manager changed and then suddenly we were expected to travel to the factory that hadn't existed before because we were just building it. And so suddenly I was traveling there every week. And it was my first proper job. So I felt impossible to leave that job, even though the lifestyle was really draining me as well. I just didn't listen to that feeling of maybe I should be doing something else. Or, yeah, I thought maybe things were going to change. Then I made a move inside the company to like try to save this somehow, and I made everything way worse. I hated that role even more. Not that I don't want to say I hated working at this company because I loved the people there and that's what kept me there. And I loved some of the work, but also some of it I really hated. But then I moved to a new team and I had my schedule changed from traveling, like flying once a week and then flying back on Thursday to driving somewhere 2 hours every morning and then driving back in the evening. And that was even worse. And I could have logically seen that I would hate that. I think
The commute time is
yeah.
way too much.
I think I tend to just ignore the lifestyle impact of decisions. It's gonna be fine, like I'm gonna manage it, and then I then it's the reason why I hate it so much. Yeah.
So basically, your intuition's telling you to get out of the situation, but you just ended up staying.
Yeah. Ended up staying and making it worse by taking a role where the lifestyle was even worse. But then ultimately that helped me leave altogether because things got so bad that I was like, okay, now
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave for real.
Yeah. Have you heard of the term "the straw that broke the
Yeah.
camel's back"? Yeah. So what's helped me a lot is I meditate a lot, at least an hour a day, and it helps me see that those progressions because they say that was the straw that broke the camel's back. But the thing is, there's thousands of straws already on the camel's back that we ignored putting on there. And with every single straw, we're like, yeah, we shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do this. And then there's just one where like, I can't take this anymore. And then, you break. So I think it's cool now to like with a sense of awareness, being able to avoid those. So we don't have to have this like big crashing moment where we quit the job or get fired or we break up with our boyfriend or girlfriend, and we can just simply like have those little baby shifts every single day. And then I think over time it's like much more exponential growth. So Anna, someone who is considering working for McKinsey or start their own YouTube channel, or who is thinking of a job that they might not fully fit, what would you tell that person about what the value of intuition is?
Yeah. So I think intuition is valuable, but also in combination with action. I've done some very big moves that I could have tried these things in a little bit smaller scale, like with the McKinsey example. I mean, I did talk to people that were already working there. I ignored the red flags of what they were saying, but I could have also put in more effort to really understand what it would be like to work there. I talk to people all the time who want to work at McKinsey and they're like, this doesn't scare me. It's going to be fine. And I don't think there's anything you can say to stop those people. There was nothing anyone could have said to stop me from trying it out. So I think it's fine to land in the wrong job. But what's probably not fine is staying there for long and a little bit. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay to get your hands dirty, but there's a point where we gotta make our own adjustments.
Yeah. And don't let it be 2 years. Nothing
Yeah.
bad happens actually when you leave a job like that after 6 months. Or the things that you hope it would bring you to stay longer are more of the things that you don't want, that you already realize you hate. Because if you make it 2 years at McKinsey, then what kind of opportunities does that give you? Well, either staying there even longer or working at other companies that have lots of alumni and that value the kind of person you become if you stay there for that long. And if you already realize that's not what I like, then staying longer is not going to make the opportunity better. It just makes it worse. And it puts you more
Yeah.
into a box. Some companies,
Mm.
I applied to some jobs initially when I left, and some of them were really suspicious of me because they said, you just worked at McKinsey, so why do you want to work at this startup? Doesn't make sense to us. What tells us you're not going to be gone for a better job in a few months? So there are downsides to having a prestigious job like that. Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. One thing that you're saying is there's this opportunity, let's say McKinsey or Shark Tank or whatever, that you can take, but if you don't take that, you'll still have other opportunities. It's not like if you don't take this opportunity, your life is put on pause and you're not going to do anything. If you didn't go to McKinsey, you would have explored other jobs. And so I think it's big to have the feeling of this isn't the only opportunity. There's a lot of different routes that you can end up taking.
Yes. And more success in the wrong direction is not actually good. It could hold you back from having success in the right direction. And it will give you opportunities, but probably not the opportunities you want. And it will make it harder to leave every bit you stay longer because you get used to the prestige. It becomes more part of your identity. You become more part of the bubble of people that think the way people think there. So let's say you're at McKinsey and you want to become a full-time YouTuber, right? After half a year, you're maybe not identifying that much with everyone there. But after 2 years, you are going to think the way that everyone around you thinks. And you're going to think that would be insane to become a full-time YouTuber. That's so high risk. And is it really going to make me more money than I'm making now? I don't know. It's going to be pretty hard to replace the salary. So it just gets worse and worse. It doesn't get easier to leave.
Yeah. Which you can see there, what's not being considered is the personal freedom, the personal desire. So if you're just measuring it off of salary, yeah, it's the right decision, but that's not the only thing that's being factored in.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Anna, well, hey, thank you so much. Before you go, you were mentioning some ideas about having a webinar, mostly for people who may be feeling like they have the golden handcuffs, like they feel stuck at a McKinsey or whatever prestige job. Can you give a little more insights on that? I know you don't have all the details ironed out yet.
Yeah, totally. So I'm having some free calls with people at the moment to just learn more about what can help people like in that situation.
Yeah. What's your hotline called?
Career Frustration Hotline.
Career Frustration Hotline. I love that. I'll put that in the link in the description.
Yeah,
below.
and so my goal is just to basically build a space where we can work on a career in a non-conventional, non-traditional way, free from outside expectations, or where we can call out our fears and our outdated identities and work on building a career that feels more meaningful and fulfilling to us, and really see things about ourselves that we can't see yet because we're still a little bit stuck in whatever role or identity we have. Yeah, so probably going to start with a webinar in a couple of weeks. Let's see what ends up being.
So it's basically a playground that we can play around with whatever crazy idea we have, or maybe there's some type of dream career, whether that's being a clown being a clown at a circus, or maybe it's a dancer, or quitting your job and becoming a YouTuber.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be anything that radical. I think if we consider the most radical options, then we can free ourselves and we can see the things that we're hiding in the nooks, because there's just some things you really don't see. There's some strength of yourself you don't see, some skills or opportunities you don't see, because you feel like it has to make logical sense as a next step, whatever you do after what you do right now. So basically, yeah, I want to help people make illogical career moves that still somehow make sense.
Yeah. Illogical career moves that free your soul.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome, Anna. Hey, I want to thank you so much for hopping on the show. It was fun hearing the deep details about Anna Reich.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Tom.
Wasn't that amazing? I get so energized by conversations like this. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing with those who you care about. It's one of the easiest ways to support a small channel like this. It helps us reach more leaders like yourself who want to grow in emotional intelligence and intuition. Before you go, I'd love to invite you to my Saturday newsletter, a 5-minute weekly read to sharpen your intuition and strengthen your emotional intelligence. It's where I share all my deepest insights, both personal and as an entrepreneur. Click below on the top link in the description. Let's keep this momentum going and check out this next episode. It's one of my favorites, and it's the next step in your growth journey. Just one click away. I'll be there waiting for you.